We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us red.
What's that you said is coming over you? You're wishing upon a star. You're wishing it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you.
And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is the three amigos, and I am going to go into the dark. I am sitting in comfort tonight. We've only got 90 minutes and we've got a lot to get through. So I did want to show you that I'm still here, I'm still alive. I haven't got any false turkey teeth or a hair transplant, because people do get a bit worried when they know that I'm not sitting in the green room in the usual place. But anyway, welcome along. As I say, 90 minutes, and I did want to do something a little bit different tonight, because I was at the Sport Newcastle dinner and it was absolutely brilliant. Fair play to Matthew Squires, Andy Naylor, Claire Finn, everybody, Frank, Alan Younger, everybody who pulls that event together. A wonderful, wonderful event at the Civic Centre, which essentially has been going for over 50 years now. Of course, the brainchild of the late, great Malcolm Dix. And this event often, from our perspective, it often pays tribute to people from Newcastle United. And I had the pleasure of spending the night with Alicia Boddy from Newcastle United women's team and her dad. They were on our table. Alicia was up for an award, so I recorded it. Here we go.
Development. But after talking to Jack's family, who absolutely loved the idea, we've decided that for now, his award should go to the best young player from Newcastle United's women's team. Now, we're sure Jack would have been impressed with the emerging talent amongst the girls. The attacking midfielder that we're honouring tonight has racked up huge experience for a 20-year-old, having already had spells at Leicester and Bristol City women before coming back home to the North East. And as she showed in that high-profile pre-season game against AC Milan, which I'm sure many of you were at, she knows where the goal is.
Managed to wrest control of the ball there. The move continues. Just stall for the moment before Alicia Boddy gets in there. Here she is now. Can she get the shot through? She can! What a screamer from Boddy! Newcastle United lead AC Milan with an absolute quarter of a goal that is fully appreciated. 1-0. Just look at this. She was lurking. Hales was the one who made the initial inroads. And then Alicia Bodden, the 20-year-old, scores a wonder goal. Top drawer.
So I'm going to ask Steve to present the Jack Hickson Award to Alicia Boddy. Alicia, first of all, talk us through that goal.
Well, I don't normally get that high up the pitch, so I was a bit shocked myself. I normally pass the ball, but Shania, my friend, she said shoot, so I shot and thankfully it went in.
Kind of worked out, didn't it? Yeah. What's it like playing at St James's Park? Obviously, you've got another game coming up this Sunday against Southampton. Now, we'll get on to how important that is in a moment. But what's it actually like playing out there?
I don't think there's any way to describe it, you just have to feel it. Like, it is the best place I've ever played. Like, the stadium itself just has such a great feel, and the fans that come with it like create that atmosphere, so when you step on the pitch at St James's you just feel at home.
The Women's Championship could be perhaps the most exciting division in all football this season because it's so tight. Every game matters. I mean, you're not far off the top. If you win this game on Sunday, you get even closer. What's the feeling within the squad now?
Yeah, I think we know it's a very competitive league and it's our first time competing in this league, but we know how good we are, and if we just keep taking each game as it comes, try and get 3 points every Sunday, then I think we'll find ourselves in a very good position come Christmas.
Now, to me, the club and you guys look at home when you're playing the Championship. Does it feel like that? Do you feel like you're at home at this level?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've stepped up to the challenge and we really want to go and win this league. I think that's our aims, our in-house aims, but I think just staying consistent and sticking to our game plans each week, and hopefully we can get 3 points.
So, having said you look comfortable at this level, what level do you want to play at?
Well, I know me personally, I want to get to the top, and I know Newcastle do as well, so that's why I love being here, because our ambitions match.
That was going to be the next question. You just kind of summed it up there, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. You can fulfil your ambitions at this club, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Where I want to go and where Newcastle want to go and will go match up nicely. So for me to be here for the foreseeable is very nice.
Fantastic. Well, that goal was amazing. And congratulations on the trophy. Thank you very much to Steve. And please once again show your appreciation to Alicia Boddy, the winner of the Jack Hickson Trophy.
Well done to Alicia. Fantastic, as I say, spending some time with her last night, and great insight into how the women's team works. And yeah, I just said we don't really cover it much on NUFC Matters. Maybe we should do a little bit more. And she said, yes, you should do more. So she said she'd be tuning in tonight. So a big shout out to you and your dad. Big thanks for that. But that was the Jack Hickson Award, which, as you will have heard Simon O'Rourke from ITV tell you, it is now going to be for the women's team moving forward. So that's a great idea. Let's talk a little bit about that, lads. I mean, Mitch, that was a great goal she scored against AC Milan. She's more of a defensive midfielder, but I tell you what, she never had any media training. And for somebody who's, just in her 20s, coming on to 21 on her next birthday, I tell you what, she spoke very, very well.
Come across as a natural, mate. I mean, if that's somebody with no media training, very comfortable with a mic shoved in their face, and that's not everybody's cup of tea. There's plenty of professionals in the men's game couldn't hold an interview very well like that with the mic shoved in their face in a situation like that. But I think people don't always understand the step up they've made to go into the women's championship. It is, people who know the women's game say it's such a competitive division, and the step up from the division below is a significant one, and they seem to be managing it very, very well at the moment. And I think that's reflection on how well the squad is looked after and what's being put into the women's game by Newcastle United at the moment. And long may it continue if we're producing young ladies like that who are not just good on the pitch but eloquent off it.
Yeah, Steve, you know, the women's team is grown and grown. They're playing at St James's Park again this weekend and already had a record crowd. Southampton, of course, the visitors this weekend. But, you know, they're doing great things. And they've gone from, you know, having to buy their own strips to being recognised by the club. And Amanda Staveley has to take a lot of praise for that, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember way back, excuse me, Steve, way back in the dark and distant past when we sat with one of the girls' dads, and he came and spoke at one of the NUFC fans United meetings, and we did everything we could to try and persuade the club. And it was Virgin at the time who were club sponsors, if they would allow the girls to wear the Newcastle strips that they wanted to buy themselves. They weren't even asking for them. And they got the knockback, not just from Newcastle United, but also from Virgin, their sponsors, which I found quite galling, I must admit. Says an awful lot for Richard Branson and his mob, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, the girls have done remarkably well. A great step up, as Mitch says, into the Premiership. I mean, they walked the league last season. They walked it the year before. Probably find it a little more difficult this time, but that's because the competition is a lot stronger. I think that came from Martin FC or down in Teesside, if memory serves me right, which I think is where Jonathan Woodgate started his career as a youngster. So that's, you know, that she's got big shoes to follow, but I'm sure she'll manage it. And Mitch is right; the girls are speaking very, very well. But I think that's a sign of their confidence. Put it that way. I think, you know, as you say, sticking the microphone in somebody's face and in an auditorium like that, full of high profile executives and sporting people. But the girls are confident. They're confident in their own ability and they're confident in their speaking ability. And Alicia certainly showed that. And it's going to be a good game on Sunday. And there's a food bank collection beforehand. If anyone's popping along, please stick a few quid in the box.
Well done, mate. Never miss an opportunity to get that in. George, a very competent young lady.
Yes, more than competent. I have to say that's the theme for me at the moment with Newcastle United, because most of the interviews with some of the men team, particularly the younger ones, have been fantastic for me. Anthony Gordon, Isaac, you know, they're just all trotting off. It all sounds absolutely wonderful, you know, and long may it continue. Brought back lots of good memories for me, the Sport Newcastle thing, because as you know, I was a good friend of Malcolm Dix, and I became an ambassador for Sport England. So I travelled the country looking at projects for Sport England and trying to persuade them to award money. And the person that recommended me for that position was Malcolm Dix, and I was eternally grateful to him for it. And the women's team, well, the times I've seen them playing, it's been very enjoyable because the standard has certainly gone up immeasurably in the last couple of years. And as they've gone up, their quality has risen as well. And you've got to pay tribute to Amanda for encouraging that initially. That burst to get them on the move was very important. So yeah, they're doing us proud. There's a lot to come from them as well, I think. The other interesting thing at this particular juncture is that I don't know Neil's, because he's gone on about it before. One of the boot manufacturers is actually looking to design boots for girls. Not just boots for girls at long last. I think Neil's been on about it for a while, about some of these injuries being caused because they're not wearing the right footwear. Well, somebody's actually looking at it, and I think that's great. So all of this, for me, all of this ties together quite nicely. And couldn't be happier to have girls like that representing our football club. You know, absolutely doing we're proud, and look forward to more. And hopefully get along to see them occasionally.
Yep, good stuff. The dinner as well also hands out a regular award called the Ward Jackie Award, and there's been many a Newcastle starlet who has taken on this prize and gone on to have big success in the first team. And last night's winner was presented to Newcastle United goalkeeper Aidan Harris. He's from Wearside, 17 years of age. He's regularly featured for the club's under-21 side this season, and he was on the bench for the first team in the Champions League last year. He's the third custodian to receive the award given to the club's outstanding young player, following on from Jack Anick in 2011 and Freddie Woodman in 2018. I did manage to get a little clip of that interview as well.
Just from being with them, like, you didn't have to speak to them, really, just watch them.
Well, we have a fellow member of the goalkeeper union up here as well. Steve, what's this guy like?
Man of many words, as you can tell. Incredibly competitive, very driven. Came in at under 11, so not normal entry at academies, under 9. So credit to the recruitment team and Michael Poulin over there went into bat for him. But he makes the most of it. You know, you said that, you know, an athletic great there, Jonathan. But as an academy director, what do you want from the kids? Max out. Want every kid to come through that door to make the absolute maximum of everything that they've got, and this kid continues to do that every session. You know, the art of goalkeeping, they say, is changing, but the fundamentals of it absolutely mattering every time the ball goes in the net. It hurts him. Doesn't happen very often, putting him under pressure, but it has a real consequence, and he makes the most of it.
And we can just see here, I think this is some of your work stopping penalties. I'll just take the mic off you there, Steve, for a moment. So, is this a bit of a speciality?
I wouldn't say it's a speciality, like I say it's a no. I'm just gonna do your work before the penalties, see which way they're going, and then hopefully you save it.
So, I mean, Steve's kind of spoken about it, and obviously Steve's the gaffer, but I mean, what's your view of sort of the progression of your career from where you are now?
I think it's been really good. From my point of view, I think I've progressed on the right path. It's not always going to be plain sailing. You're always going to have ups and downs. But I think I'm developing great, and I'm doing well.
I think everyone thinks so too. Steve, if you don't like to say anybody else, the winner of the World Jackson Trophy, Aidan Harris.
So
can I just say, how confident was Steve Harper standing next to him talking about goalkeepers when the previous interview, Steve was obviously panicking that he was going to be asked if he would have managed to save that shot from Alicia, and the answer was no. You wouldn't have, Steve.
George, you're in the driving seat there, mate. I mean, that was that video, by the way, doesn't do the justice of how tall Aidan is. He's a big lad for 17. But again, you know, one for the future, possibly. Barry Hogan says he'd rather have him as our number 2. But yeah, look, he's coming through the ranks. He looks a good goalkeeper, and certainly if Steve Harper rates him, that's good enough for me.
Well, I don't think it'll long before he is number 2, frankly. The way he's progressing and he's build, and the little bits I've seen of him, he looks really special. So I don't think it would be long before he's number 2. And I think the nice thing about the Sport Newcastle Awards is that they're separate and different to the football club. These are awards from sports people, they're not just from football people. And I think that makes quite a difference to youngsters like that. I know I used to run the North Tyneside Young Sports Winners Awards, which was modelled on what Malcolm Dix did, and it was great to see youngsters getting these awards and seeing how they progressed. And it's just a boost at a good time. That's a good boost for that laddie at 17 to say to, well, keep going. You know, this is just a start. There's lots more round the corner if you keep progressing. And I thought he accepted it in a very nice way, nice and humble, and very deferential to his boss, to Steve Harper. I thought it was nice the way he kept looking at him to see if he was saying the right thing. No, that was lovely. Another nice interview, Steve. Well done, and can't wait too long before we see him progressing onto the bench in the first team again.
Yeah, Mitch, great to see a young goalkeeper coming through. That Ward Jackie trophy as well. I mean, it's not quite as big as the Wilkinson Sword trophy, but it's a big old trophy to put on your mantelpiece, isn't it? But good. He's got it. It looks like it's in a safe pair of hands for 12 months.
Does indeed. And again, somebody who comes across is able to conduct himself well. I think, like my dad says, I think there's nothing better for you as a young professional to get some sort of independent recognition and validation of what you're doing and that you're going in the right direction. And that can only be a real boost for all the award winners, but for him in particular. And what is nice to see is the academy starting to hopefully produce more, because that's what we need. We need more of these young players to come to proper fruition for more reasons than you can think of, really. And so looks like it was a really good evening, Steve, and well done for backing it and supporting it.
Yeah, it's always a great evening. It's a fantastic organisation. As I say, over 50 years now. I mean, they put money into to developing young stars. That's what they do, and a lot of hard work and effort goes into that dinner, which of course is the biggest fundraising part of the year. But it's always well attended. Some great people there. From different walks of life. Great to see Jonathan Edwards there. It's never get sick of hearing that story that he was given a couple of £100 to buy his first spikes, and next year it'll be the 30th year that his world record has stood, which is fantastic. So great stuff. It's a great event. Steve, just your thoughts on young Aidan?
Yeah, I mean, well done, congratulations. But I think what we've got to be careful of is putting players like under too much pressure. We're saying that he should be, could be number 2, or that he's got a long career ahead of him. But the history tells you that sometimes youngsters who mature at that stage don't carry on. I'm just looking at the list of players who have won that award in the past, and you go through them, and you've got Woodman, you've got Sorensen, Barlasser, Newbury, Renando Aarons, Sammy Amiobi, Remy Street, and the only one out of that I would say that's really shone was the one I haven't mentioned yet, was Adam Armstrong back in 2014, who's done really, really well, and is now plying his trade back in the Premier League. So there's a long way for youngsters to go. They've got to keep their feet on the ground. But that's the job of Steve Harper as the academy manager, and that's the job of whoever takes over and runs the under-21s. And it's the job of the youngsters as well, because they've got to realise that just because you've won an award doesn't mean that that everything's rosy for you and you've got a fantastic career ahead, because you've got to work on it. You've got to work hard, and you've got to keep your feet on the ground, and you've got to listen to all the advice around you and don't get carried away. I think that's something that a lot of youngsters have failed on in the past, Steve, to be perfectly honest. And just that list of players there, a lot of them plying that trade way down the league. Yes, probably earned some decent money, but in terms of a career path, there's a long way for that youngster to go yet. But I think he's by listening to him, he's got the right attitude, the right idea. And yes, I hope in the medium to long term we do see him wearing a number 1 shirt for Newcastle United, because that would be great to have a youngster who's come through the ranks to be actually leading and being the stalwart in the heart of our defence as a goalkeeper for many years ahead. So let's hope it comes to a fruition for him.
Yes, yeah. Team of the year was Gateshead. No surprise there. They're winning the FA Trophy, and they should have been in the playoffs, but we all know the reason why they weren't. But they were Team of the year. The Wilkinson Sword, which of course has been won by the sporting greats of the region like Alan Shearer, Jackie Charlton, Sir Bobby Robson, and of course Glenn McCrory, was won by the snooker player Gary Wilson, which was great to see. Somebody coming from a different sport winning. There was one of the Newcastle United award. Quite a short interview because he wasn't there to pick up the award himself, but it was for young Lewis Miley.
Season injury. The good news, he's now back in action. The great news for him, not so for us, means he's straight into the England under-21 squad for the first time to play Spain tomorrow night. So understandably can't be with us this evening. Before Lewis set off to join the England camp, we presented him with his trophy. He sent us this message.
Hi everyone, I'm really sorry I can't be here tonight, but on a positive, I'm really honoured to win this trophy, and thanks for voting for me, thank you. Last season was a real positive for me. I didn't think I'd played some of the games I played in, but I think it was honestly a real privilege, and to play against some of the top players and all over Europe it was hard to believe really, but I really enjoyed it, and hope you can play lots more of their games. What an unreal feeling it was scoring my first goal at St James's. Hearing the crowd, especially when you hit in the back of the net, was the best feeling I've ever really dreamt of, really, especially growing up as a kid playing for Newcastle. It was a really good moment for me and my family. I came back from a stress fracture in my back then. Unfortunately, I done my foot leading up to come back in the training, but I think it's made us stronger mentally and physically, really. It's been amazing to win the trophy over the 3 years, really, obviously. Win the first one and the second one, and this one, I'm really privileged to win 3 of the trophies, and thanks everyone who's voted for us, really, so yeah, thank you.
Great stuff, Lewis Miley, young sporting success of the year, and that is fantastic to see Lewis Miley being recognised, George, because let's face it, when the chips were down and we had a lot of injuries last season, he stepped up to the breach, and it was when the boy became a man.
Well, more than that, I mean, I remember 2 games. I was sitting next to Steve Hasty, and he and I were saying what a disgrace it was for Newcastle United that our midfield for a period of about 20 to 30 minutes was being held together by that 17-year-old. He just was outstanding. And all the others, including Bruno, had disappeared because they were pursuing their own furrow. Bruno at that time was trying to kick people and lost his thread in the game, and the others had just disappeared. But Lewis Miley stuck to his game and held our midfield together to give it time to recover. So, yeah, he's on the right path. And I hated beating the drum. Another yard of pace, and he would be in the England team. Really, that's how good I think he is. And that's the only thing he's missing. It's great. In the great yesterday, his younger brother, the youngest of them, signed professional contract for Newcastle. So that's three Mileys in the club. Wouldn't that be great if Newcastle United turned out with 3 brothers in the same team? What a day that would be. I want to be there that day, definitely. Yeah. But he's a great character, and he showed on that again. Somebody who didn't run away when the microphone was there. He just stood up and said what he needed to say, not over the top, just right. So again, nice piece of TV, Steve. It was good and showed the lad in the right light, in my view. But great what he's done, and looking forward to what else he's going to do for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing feat to have, a couple of brothers coming through, but to have three sons, Mitch. I've just seen a great message there from Tom in America. He says, whatever water's coming out of the tap at the Miley household needs to be used in every household in Tyneside. Credit to their parents, coaches, and the community, and to Northumbria Water, I might add, Mitch.
Yes, absolutely. No, it's fascinating, isn't it? And wouldn't that be a day to see all 3 of them involved in a match day squad? That would be hitting newspapers all over the world, I would imagine. What I love about Lewis Miley, and we saw it last night with the young England players as well, when young players are allowed to play without fear, they express themselves and you get the best out of them. And that's absolutely everything Lewis Miley did last season, and that's credit to Eddie Howe. To allow him the ability to come into that team without any fear or expectation. Just say, go and play your football. Because when young players click, when they play football, they're no respecters of reputation. It's just about the football. And there were times in games last season where the best midfielder we had was a young 17-year-old, still wet behind the ears in football terms. But ironically, the one good thing to come out of that injury crisis is we have a young man who we would have no problem seeing him step into the breach in any game, and we don't have to rush him. We can just let him develop now at his own pace. We know what he's got. He's played in the Champions League, and so now it's a case of development. How can you develop to become the best version of you can be? And where do you need to improve? And that's where the new fitness coach comes in, and that's where, you know, having a plan to develop these players comes into play. And it's for him, it must be a great time to be a young Newcastle United player, I tell you.
Steve, thoughts on young Lewis Smiley? I mean, he's an old pro doing interviews like that.
He certainly is. You know what? He got the opportunity. He grasped it. He took that, and boy, did it work for him. I mean, George just pointed out what we said in that particular game. Witnessing a youngster just grabbing the game by the scruff of the neck, and holding everything together for us at a point where we desperately needed it. What I want to see from Lewis Miley is the continual development, where he becomes unsellable, where he doesn't become our scapegoat, Elliot Anderson, for the future. I want him there. I want him worth 50 million, but I want him staying at Newcastle United. I want him worth 100 million and staying with Newcastle United. I don't want to be in a situation where he becomes some sort of sacrificial lamb, because it's players like Lewis Miley. And I think we've learned that over the last sort of 6 to 8 months since Elliot Anderson moved on, that sometimes you can make mistakes. We were forced by PSR to sell him, and that was really, really disappointing. Must have been disappointing for the development squad in terms of the backroom people, you know, who looked after Elliot all the way through and saw big things for him in a black and white shirt. And yes, we know all the time that players do move on, players, you know, for their career path or anything like that. But I think what was sad about Elliot was that it came too early. And I think we didn't see the best of him in a black and white shirt. So I want to see the best of Lewis Miley in a black and white shirt before somebody gets a hold of him and says, you know what, whether it's an agent or whether it's another club or whether it's an accountant, says you've got to move on. That's what we don't want.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Steve, 100%. It's just great to have the young Miley brothers coming through, and that's what we want. You know, if Newcastle is going to compete moving forward, I think I mentioned it last week, we need to make sure that we do have the academy churning out players. You know, players who we may end up selling, but who might break into the first team. It will make a big difference. Anyway,
absolutely. We've been critics of the academy in the past. Most podcasters have, and most newspapers and feature writers have been critical of the academy for not bringing players through. So now that we're getting the benefit of seeing players coming through, it's a rich reward, hopefully, for the football club.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, and long may it continue. Let's hope it happens. As I say, a slightly shorter show tonight. Derek Wright, of course, has got his book launch, so I know Mozza and that's going along tonight. So she said she can't find a pink tutu though. So I think that's reason for celebration, Mozza. Maybe who knows? But it's time for Tweet of the Week. First up, Shaq O'Neill comes up with this week. I can't end my messages with Love Shaq because the B-52s have ruined that for me, he says, which you can understand why. We've got a Star Trek one, lads. I rubbed ketchup in my eyes. Not a great idea in hindsight.
Oh.
Star Wars often plays a part on a Friday night here. Jimmy Moore has sent a tweet of the week, Star Wars martini time. Very good. I like that. I'll have one of them, Jimmy. And this one from Jimmy as well, the world's coolest fire pit.
That's good, that.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Is it genuine? I'd love to know, Jimmy, are these genuine? Can you get one of them in America? Tinsy, thank you for this. It's a trap, he says. Very clever. Very clever. Did like that one. And this one from Des, love this. Looks like one in the family didn't want to follow with the tradition. Django Fett, bounty hunter. Boba Fett, bounty hunter. Ed Fett, accounting.
Somebody's got to look after the money.
I have. Thanks for this one, Jimmy. Patel and Singh builders. You've tried the Cowboys, now try the Indians.
Oh, nice one.
And beware of smartphone zombies. Yes, Jimmy, we should see that sign put up in England, mate. There are lots of people.
Try it over here, mate. Jesus.
It's very good, that. But yeah, you should do that. Another sign, kitchen hand job available. Not much of a queue.
Wonder if that's with or without a rubber glove. I don't know.
Maybe. And the Sofa King, I'm Sofa King happy. Very good, Jimmy.
Oh.
I think we've had that one before, Jimmy, but I did like it, so I put it back up. Jimmy Wilson as well with this one. Great shop. Reminds me of that Harry Enfield sketch that he did. I seen you coming shop. But,
Saw you coming.
That's it. I saw you coming. That's right. And this van, Mitchell's Wholesale Providores. But when you open the door, it says Mitchell's Hose.
Yeah.
And Black Label hot sauce may cause anal leakage from Tesco's.
Oh.
Or not.
Well.
And Jimmy Wilson sent us this one. Tropical Sun cock flavour seasoning.
Chicken.
Yeah, chicken. You can wash some haggis gonads down with that.
Dear me.
Yeah, some inappropriate food there. And gynecology restaurants, lads.
In out.
Saying out. Yeah, it is odd. Not as odd as this. This is my favourite ever family photo. My mum did the O. We told her we were going to write love.
Well, Mum.
And cat's eyes removed. Mice very happy. The fact that someone's actually bothered to go and do that's brilliant. And no matter how I read this sign, I still have questions. Carpet your hole for only $99. And this printer identifies as Bob Marley because it just keeps on jamming.
Oh, goodness.
We've all worked in office like that.
And an inappropriate gate, lads. Need to take this down. Dear me, how.
Oh.
And please clear the history after downloading.
Oh.
English lesson for the day. Proper spacing between words is important. It's supposed to say pen is broken. Please use finger, not penis broken. Please use finger. But very good. And Mike is hard. Another great ban. Excellent stuff. Glad my room is to the left. For some reason, the right side of this hotel doesn't sound peaceful, says Andrew Cooper.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And this one, you have to say it like Bond. The name's Biscuits. Cheese. I'll not be buying any bread from this shop.
Jesus.
I'm still trying to work out whether that's a mole or a mouse. I think it's a mole, lads. But anyway, however, it's got how that's got in there, God only knows. Following that up with a floor sandwich. We dropped this one on the floor while making it.
Oh.
I can't. That will be genuine, I guess, somewhere. I'm not sure whether these went out onto the factory floor. And Just Eat. Great note on there. Not quietly. I'm supposed to be on a diet. Was the note for the restaurant.
Yeah.
Time to test the vocal cords, lads. There may be trouble ahead. All site visitors, please note that while there is moonlight and love and music, romance, it is advised that you face the music and dance. Very good.
Hooray.
Thank you for that. And don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't if I fried. Thank you, Colin. I'm just warming up for that. Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, pigeon on a chair.
Oh.
Yeah, not as great. And this one's an old one. We've had this before, Des. One for the Amigos. Start practicing. Open up. It's the police. Prove it. Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. And when you go shopping with your mom and she starts talking to someone she knows. Gary, I think we've all felt like that at times. God bless me, mother. What do you want for Christmas? Nothing would make me happier than a diamond necklace. Great. Nothing it is. And tweet of the week from Jimmy as well. What if umbrellas were supposed to be called brellas, but the person who named them hesitated?
Oh, Jimmy.
It's a good point, Jimmy. J Fool asked, what does TBH and IDK mean? Robbo replied, to be honest, I don't know. J Fool said, then why did you comment?
Very good.
Hannah said, can we please start a support group for procrastinators? Anderson replied, tomorrow. Stephen Kennedy just hates his mind.
Yeah, we should.
And when you're only 3 blocks away from home, but you're starting to lose the battle, lads.
Oh, Jesus.
It's a peach, man. It's a peach. And Ian Hull says, a weasel walks into a bar. The bartender says, wow, I've never served a weasel before. What can I get you? Pop goes the weasel.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Great photo of the washing machine, lads. My mum spent the last 30 minutes laughing hysterically at this. And I just bought a Humpty Dumpty toy from Aldi. It's brilliant. It comes with Aldi King's horses and Aldi King's men.
Oh,
great.
And I went to see my doctor about my sex addiction yesterday. Right, lie on the bed and take your underwear off. She said, I beg your pardon. And to you, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize in medicine, but best known for being the most confusing person to sing happy birthday to. Last 4, when a relationship ends for men and when a relationship ends for women. It looks the same, but it's not. Top 3, Tesco's, Sheila's brown bread, and finished, made in Ireland with fresh buttermilk and a unique blend of flours. But she is brown bread. So is that mouse in the other packet. Number 2, Ahmed Sheeran. No, you're not, mate.
No, you're not.
And this one. What do you trust more than the government? Nick Wilson said, the ads on Pornhub telling me girls within 3 miles of my location want to hook up. Brilliant stuff. If you've got a tweet of the week, then please send it to me and we will feature it next week. We are working our way through the backlog, but we're almost there. Okay, quick ad break. Back after this.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website is mrvickies.co.uk. Email them info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Congratulations to them on their Travel and Tourism Award 2024. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges. All excursions included. Find them at their website www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And don't forget, we are also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. If you get the time, please hit the subscribe button. It does do us a big favour. Hit the like button, which is the thumb under the video. That helps the channel grow. And click share to share to your other social medias. You can also hit the join button and become a member. Some dates for your diary. In aid of Newcastle Cat and Dog Shelter, the Long Sands play the Clooney. That takes place on Saturday, January the 4th, 2025, with support from Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band. Tickets pre-sale are £15 from newcastlelegends.com or from the venue direct. Peter Beardsley will be doing a talk-in at the Tyneside Irish Centre. That takes place on the 10th of January. Tickets are £30. VIP tickets are £60 and you can get them from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with the entertainers takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House in Newcastle on the 24th of January. Kevin Scott, Steve Watson, Steve Howie, John Beresford Rule Fox, Peter Beardsley, Rob Lee, Keith Gillespie, Liam O'Brien, Darren Peacock, Paul Bracewell, Lee Clark, and Killer Kill Klein are all going to be there with Gibbo, and you can get your tickets from the box office 0191 243 1171 or the website Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. Lee Clark will be at the Gateshead Leisure Centre. That is on the 31st of January, and tickets available from the Leisure Centre 0191 250 5066. Les Ferdinand will be at the Newcastle O2 City Hall the 6th of April 2025. That is a 12 o'clock start until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Tickets available from ticketmaster.co.uk. And Will Scott's book on the entertainers is out now. £18.99, over 380 pages, and a lot of unseen photographs. You can buy that book now from newcastlelegends.com. And we do have some fanzines remaining. If you want to buy an NUFC Matters fanzine, issue 1 is still available, again from newcastlelegends.com. And please take your time to flip onto our other channel, The Word on Blake 7. Please hit the subscribe button and help that channel grow.
Okay, welcome back to NUFC Matters. We'll be finished at about 6:30 tonight. Welcome to those who just joined. People asking what we missed. Well, we've just been talking about the Sport Newcastle Awards last night. We've shown a few exclusive videos, which you can check back later on. I just want to ask Mitch about this. He sent me this, Mitch. For those eagle-eyed viewers, you might notice there's something wrong with this shirt. Tell us more, Mitch.
Well, this is Simon, who had on, who helps run the San Diego mags. This was ordered from the club shop, and it has sort of all the memories of Castoria written all over it. Sadly, it's a birthday present as well, so it's not something that can quickly fix. He's already contacted the club, but I mean, like I was saying to him today, he's got contacts at the club through what he does with the international supporters. What if he didn't? What if he was Joe Smith in Alabama, who was the first time, wanted to buy a shirt for the first time, and how disappointed would you be if that had arrived? And he subsequently had a couple of other people contact him who've worked in the club shop in the past, saying that whoever's put that together really hasn't got a clue what they're doing, because apparently the Bruno and the dot are all over the place, according to them. Which is taking it to the nth degree, but it's these little things, and this is why we bang on about it. Subsequent to putting that out today, I've had somebody from Australia contact us and say, "Yep, same thing. We ordered a 6 and we got a 9." I mean, these aren't complicated things to get right. I think that Mark Byers, who ordered a cap and slung it in just a normal envelope and sent it halfway across the world. Well, is it any wonder his cap come out looking more like a frisbee by the time it arrived from the club shop? These little things matter, and you would hope we've seen the back of it from Castoria, but there's still things that need to be addressed, and it's frustrating. And it frustrates in particular the international community that I'm in touch with. I shared that, and we also shared the email from the club for the upcoming supporter event where you can log in with the times on. And straight away, Stu and I clocked that the Saudi and the Dubai times on the flyer were wrong. Like, not just wrong, like totally opposite direction. They had us 4 hours behind instead of 4 hours ahead. So I chucked it on one of the international WhatsApp groups I'm on and said, can everybody check their times? And not a single one is right. Not a single one is right. There's Simon in the chat there, bless him. And I was speaking to him this morning when he was still in the stage of disbelief. I believe after a half an hour of bouncing stuff back and forward with me, I think I accelerated him to the rage stage. These are the things that matter. They matter to us as fans. This is how we are expressing ourselves around the world. And we'll get basic things like shirt printing, time zones wrong, details matter, and details are a reflection of how our club is presenting itself to the outside world. And I know it might, yes, there's a funny side to it, but it isn't. It's a bloody birthday present for one of his kids, for God's sakes. That's not going to be rectified very, very quickly. Even if he's already had an email saying somebody from the retail team will get onto it. Yeah, I'm sure they bloody well will. But that's too late, really, is the cry. And we thought once we'd moved on from Castoria, we'd see the back of these things. But certainly the feedback I've had today is it's not just a single incident, and there's more and more things like this happening all the time.
You know what, Mitch? There's nobody at the club who's willing to stand up and take responsibility, grab this by the horns, and put it right. Whether it means contacting another department and then following it through to see how that problem's been rectified. Because on Thursday, having been made aware of that email that went out about the event, 2 weeks later, they send out exactly the same email telling you you've got 1 day before it's too late to put your invite in, or your request for an invite. So it's still, there's 2 weeks gone by. Nobody took that responsibility, and someone decided that they would send the email again without it being fixed. And this is the frustration for me with people within the chimneys of that football club, because the department act as chimneys, they work in chimneys, they don't communicate across the board, and there's nobody in the football club who has got the gumption to take the responsibility, grab it by the horns and say, right, I'll pass that along, and then I'll make sure it comes back in the same direction or back in my direction, so that at least I can respond, because I was the one who brought it up. And it doesn't seem to happen. It never happened under Mike Ashley. It probably never happened under Freddie Shepherd and Sir John Hall, and it doesn't happen now. And the people within the football club, someone has to take a grasp of this, whether it's Darren Eales, if he's still at the football club, whether it's Silverstone, who's in charge of marketing, or whether it's supporter services or ticketing, or whoever organises the events, or whoever's in charge of all these departments. They know about it. Do something about it. Take responsibility for your own area.
We've already had this with international fans before as well, for one of the other fans events, where people in the States and Canada are taking time off work to dial in and being given the wrong times.
After that, Steve, the number of times we meet lads in the Irish Centre before the match who have been for things and couldn't get it, and nobody cared about they couldn't get it, and all just says, no stock. How, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for that, Simon. Mark Byers is in the chat. He says, I got a full refund. He says, I ordered the cap from US website and it came in a box. He says, a flat cap. I didn't want it, Roger. It went in the bin. So, yeah, there's a bit of disappointment there for everybody.
I give you an idea. I've picked stuff up here, some of the original stuff, off of a website called NUFC, which is owned by Noon.
Yep.
And I get it cheaper than you guys get it in the UK. And in terms of one of the things, I had it 2 weeks before you had it in the UK. Mm-hmm. That's crackers. Doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers. It really is. Okay, let's see. We did have a couple of questions. Big shout out to Lewis Hall. Great 45 minutes last night, Roger. You're right. He says a totally unfazed performance by Hall for England. Shows how far he's come and how good Eddie Howe has been. Certainly brought out the best in young Lewis. Transfers again often take over our panel. I do want to talk about this, George. I mean, there's been a little bit of rumour flying around. We know Darren Eales has got a job really until his contract finishes at Newcastle. I mean, we know that he's, the statement came out about the illness, which of course, we all wish him well. But David's asking, have we got any views on the current link to the ex-Arsenal CEO Vinay Venkacham as a replacement for Darren Eales? I mean, I don't know much about him, George. Do you?
Well, only having heard the name, I decided to look. And I've got to be honest, if you look at the way in which Arsenal have developed various things in that club, he wouldn't be a bad shot for me. He'd certainly be somebody I'd be looking at. But there's a wider thing about that. Arsenal as a club seem to be falling apart. They've lost their due, haven't they, to Nottingham Forest of all places, rather than Arsenal. That's a real funny one, that one. It suggests to me that behind the scenes there's something happening at Arsenal. But that guy you've just mentioned, as I say, if you have a look at the things he's developed while he was at Arsenal, that are now running as projects and making inroads into all sorts of areas. What he's done there, he certainly would be worth a look at. Is it our marketing man ex-Arsenal as well?
Silverstone, yeah, he was at Arsenal, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a thing there for me as well. But as I say, the little I know is I would be certainly talking to him.
Mitch, what's your thoughts on him being linked with the club?
Well, I know he's been spoken to at least twice. That's what I've been reliably told. I think it would be an interesting appointment. We want somebody with experience. We want somebody who knows the Premier League. Somebody who's done quite a lot at Arsenal. You cannot ask for more than that. But he's not the only candidate either. So I think we're in a good position to build on the foundations that Darren's given me and then take it from there. And I think going forward, somebody with some fresh ideas and a way to integrate a lot of the good things that are happening and build on that and correct some of the things that haven't been so good, it can only be a good thing, can't it?
Steve?
We got wind of this about 3 weeks ago, I think, Mitch. And we were sort of chewing the cud over this. An interesting guy. He handed his notice in at Arsenal well over a year ago, so it's not as though he's handed his notice in just to make himself available at Newcastle United or anything like that. So we need to get that one cleared up straight away. He made a decision at the end of 2023 that he was going to be leaving Arsenal in the summer of 2024, which he did. He served his 12 months notice. Arsenal used that opportunity, that 12 months, to find a replacement. He was, as George says, very, very highly thought of. But because he's been at Arsenal, he's been also integrated into a lot of the work that's done at CEO level in Europe with the various club groups that there are. There's an organisation that runs out of the 14 top European football clubs, and that's been going for many years. And he's involved in that. He's involved with the UEFA. So steeped in experience of football, and if that's the caliber of person that we're looking to, then that can only be a good thing for Newcastle. As Mitch says, he's probably not going to be the only one, but this is a vital role to fill. Darren came in, and obviously, unfortunately, because of ill health, has announced that he's going to be moving on. But coming so soon after Amanda and Miedad left the football club, there's big shoes to fill all around, and that makes it a big position, because what you could actually be having here is one person coming in with the experience that we don't need 2 or 3 people to come in and fill. So that shows you that the football club is having to move on and will be moving forward. But I think Mr. Al Ramayan will make the right choice at the right time, and because we've got potentially until the end of the season before we actually know who's going to come in. So let's just bide our time. Let's not just panic, and let's see how many other names get thrown around. You might find that he gets the job and it's announced next week. It could be after Christmas before we even get an inkling. But if that's, as I say, if that's the caliber, then it's all looking good for Newcastle United.
Somebody's phone's pinging. It needs to be.
That was
it's yours, Steve. Don't worry. I thought it was one of your phones. No worries, mate. That's great. We've got a shorter show tonight because we've got the Derek Wright talking. So we'll put the lookalikes in now. This one's done the rounds quite a lot this week. Gary Lineker on a quiz show many, many years ago. I always think that that's been made up, but it genuinely is somebody who was on a quiz show. I did like this one, a late arrival from Magnus, /football when Mo Salah met Mo Salah. Very, very good, that one, Magnus. Thank you for that. This one from Edward. He says, the Geordie Journos talked about the sweets at the City Ground on Sunday. All I can see is Steve Hasty.
All right, Edward. I'm
And
going to be asking for commission on that then.
you'll have to, yeah. Stephen Kennedy, lookalikey, Bill Hader and Jimmy Anderson.
Good. Yep.
Not bad. Yeah, I'll take this, Stephen. David Beckham and Steve Ray. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I wish I was a penny behind him. And Toon lookalike, some kid and the villain from Toy Story, says Stephen. So he's been on a bit of a Tom Dixon this week. 100% Mags was back with a vengeance. Arsenal women's player Leah Williams and Astrid Wet, who is she an influencer? I would say she is. Maybe she's an influencer. Yeah. They look very similar. Another one, Nicola Barella of Inter Milan and Nick Robinson from Jurassic World. That's very good. That, by the way, that is a good look-alike. And this, oh yeah, both of that one. This one was from Rita. She went. Here's a couple of look-alikes for this week, and it was George Clooney and this bloke. I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from, Rita. Definitely, he's got the eyes. Maybe it looks like George on a session, doesn't it? I think. Oh, after a session, maybe. Declan Rice and Christian from the Great British Bake Off. Not bad. Not 100% that one. And this one I'm sure we've had before as well. Dennis Mitchell and Lewis Hall. John Daly and some random guy.
Right. That could actually be John Daly and John Daly.
It could be Steve Hasty on the right.
It couldn't.
Good advert for Greg's.
It's a good advert for Greg's. And not that one. We've got this one, which is the winning one this week. Some Italian ice cream guy and a comedian, isn't it? Mickey Flanagan.
Mickey Flanagan.
That's very good. Very good. So thank you for that. Keep those lookalikes coming in. We will feature more next week. And let me get that off. There we go. And moving on, we've got a couple of other questions. So let's try and get through these. Tuna, good evening, says, evening all. Do the Amigos think next week's ATP meeting with the Premier League clubs in attendance will have any bearing on our ability to spend in the future? It's your opinion, George. I'm looking forward. Do you think it'll have any burden on bearing on our future spends?
I'd like to think it would, but when you're dealing with the Premier League, anything to do with the Premier League, you're guessing because you don't know how they're going to react. The fact is that we've got a self-protection group in the middle of it all, and they'll do all they can to sabotage anything that overrules what they got used to. I would hope it would have, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Mitch?
The challenge here is how have the clubs like Liverpool, Man U, Arsenal cozied up the clubs to get them to vote a certain way? One thing's clear to me is that everybody who's been talking about the rewritten rules is suggesting that they've been done in such a hurry that there can't be anything other than minor tweaks, and that effectively the entire thing's a sham anyway and is legally vulnerable. And I think whatever happens, you're going to see legal charges now. Will we legal challenges? Will we be part of that? Don't know, because we've really genuinely played nice, too nice, if you ask me, for my liking, really now. But I'm not aware of the full picture. Don't know what the whole game is. Yes, it would be nice to think that these will allow some wiggle room that we can make progress on without necessarily, even if we're not necessarily fully happy with the rewrites. But I just get the feeling it's going to be a fudge, and we're going to be stuck into a bit of a cycle, depending on how voting goes. You also have to remember that this odd concept that effectively abstentions don't count, and therefore you can put it through if you had 17 abstentions and you had 2 for and 1 against, you could still put it through. That is a nonsense in any way, shape or form, and doesn't give me hope that the right kind of decisions will be made.
Steve, are you in the same mindset?
I am, and the only caveat I would have was Mitch mentioned about how the top 6 might have cozied up to the Premier League, or to other clubs rather in the Premier League. What I would say is against that, how other clubs have reacted. I wonder this week at the announcement that Spurs, Arsenal, Man United, and Liverpool have decided that they would register for a potential claim against Manchester City if Manchester City lose their case, because the statute of limitations was up on any sort of claim that they could make, and they've got in ahead of everybody else. I wonder if that will have annoyed other clubs. I don't normally tell people to listen to other podcasts, but listen to Nick DeMarco on the Price of Football podcast. He did a little thing yesterday. It came out this morning. Very, very interesting. Where he talked about the way football clubs tend to react when it comes to votes. And one of the questions that was asked was whether or not, if you remember during COVID, I'm just using this as an example. During COVID, there was a case put forward that if the league ended tomorrow, that the bottom 3 should go down. And the league hadn't been finished, but it was put to them whether it should go to a vote. But what happened was they found out they didn't have a rule within the rule books for to actually come up with a vote like that. But as he pointed out, the vast majority, because it was in the middle of the league, middle of the season, the vast majority would have probably voted against. But if it was something that was going to just draw a line today, if you were in the top 17, you would vote for it because it was in your self-interest. And that's the way that football clubs have been operating. They operate with whatever's in their self-interest at that particular time. So, when you hear an eminent KC like Nick talk in the way that he does about the way that the whole Premier League structure has been put together, he was certainly of the opinion that planning doesn't seem to take seems to take a back seat when it comes to rule changes. They don't get thought out. They don't get tested. They throw the rules out there and then wait until there's a problem and then try and resolve it and try and solve it. So because they're not testing any of the rules with legals in the first place, and I think that's probably what they're going through now. So I wouldn't be surprised if this meeting does take place, because I think this meeting was going to take place last week. Now it's taking place next week. It's one of those floating meetings, isn't it? So let's see. But you know what? I am of the opinion that Newcastle United should just go balls out and say stuff you. Just go for it. Just go do whatever you like, and then sue. And then anything that comes back, you just challenge them under competition rules.
Okay, good stuff, good answers. Emmett says, Steve, random question. Where did the name NUFC Matters come from? Any special story behind it? Not really. It was just an idea that I came up with prior to COVID. It has to be said. We did a couple of shows which are on the channel under the Supermat and Gibbo playlist, where basically Malcolm and I sat down and did a podcast. We did like a pre-match and a post-match podcast, and it didn't really take off. But it was me who came up with the name, because for me, NUFC does matter, and it matters for everybody who watches this podcast and who supports the club. So it was an easy one. But yeah, it was me who came up with it, and that's it really. NUFC matters. It really does. It's like a bit of a catchphrase that we've had on here, and yeah, it stuck with us when we restarted the podcast and really kicked it off in COVID. So there you go. That answers your question. Barry says, what would Mitchell's excuse be if we don't sign anyone in January? He hasn't been in post long enough. There will be players to sign. Don't think they will be in the Premier League. We just have to find them, like Isaac. I mean, George, we've spoke about Mitchell many, many times. The months are ticking by. We'll be in January soon enough. I still don't think we'll be hugely active in January. I think we'll be more active in the summer. I still wouldn't be surprised to see players come and go in January, but January is not often a very busy month. And again, putting it at Mitchell's door, and all that. I don't know. And Tom Dixon's gone on about the new signing in that we brought in, the Georgian. Do you think we'll bring any more young talent in the window? I think there's more likelihood that in January and subsequent windows we will bring in more youngsters, George. But yeah, I'm calming me enthusiasm for January and hope that I'm pleasantly surprised, George.
Well, me too. But I'm still not convinced that there's a real proper connect at the top anyway between Mitchell and Eddie Howe and his team. It bothers me greatly that the silence is deafening. Is what worries me, and it would be amazing if he didn't at least bring some youngsters in, some talented youngsters in. But there's no reason why he shouldn't be throwing names around. I mean, we often talk about how the people in the club watch the podcast. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago, somebody was asking me which centre forward would I bring in to support Isaac, and I said the lad from Brentford, Mbemba, or whatever they call him, and Jesus from Arsenal. And what happened 3 days later? Brentford put a 50 million clause on Mbemba's contract, and this week Jesus just came back from for Arsenal, and they're negotiating a new contract as well. So somebody's obviously listening, but I'm not sure whether Mr. Mitchell is or not. No, I'm not. I'm like you, Steve. I'm really sanguine about what's going to happen in January, and if we're honest, some of our biggest mistakes have been made in January as well. So it may be a blessing in disguise, but the way we're playing at the moment, any support which would bolster the team we've got at the minute can only be beneficial. And I'd be disappointed if we don't get at least one or two names flying about. What I want to see, I suspect, like you're saying, I'd like to see one or two names flying out the door as well, because we've got a number of players who've been hanging around far too long. We just can't get off the books, and that really is almost as important as bringing some in.
Yeah, of course it is. Denise is saying, is it possible that we would be okay in January, not very active, and play a big summer due to how we are playing? Like to think is January not very good stock, and I agree. You just want to bring the right players in, Denise. That's what you want to do, and don't go and sign a big player and regret it. George just said some of the worst deals we've done in history have been in January or rushed. And think back to where we were last January with a lot of players unavailable. We didn't go big in January last year either. So, it's there. It's there, and Newcastle will do business if they can, I'm sure. But will be interesting. Yeah. Thoughts, Mitch?
Yeah, January is historically a difficult window to do business in. I'll be more impressed with players being moved out than I would be moving in, to be honest with you. And I can see an argument that says keep the powder dry till the summer. And then, from a PSR perspective, we've had sort of 3 quiet periods, and then you really genuinely could go big. I think making a song and dance about expecting too much in January, I think, is harsh on Mitchell. I think we've just got to let it happen and let them get on with it. And it's funny, as time's gone by, I now get the feeling about why they were keen on the Palace centre back. If you look at that England squad with Livramento, Hall, Guai in it, then add Botman into that for me is a generational back four.
Yeah,
that's your Dixon, Winterburn, Bold, Adams. And so, is that the direction they want to go? And if so, then that needs to be timed well. I don't think he'd become available till the summer now. I don't think we'll get him in January, unless Palace are desperate. But then maybe there is a deal to be done. But I'm not going to get terribly excited about potential incomings in January when I think the plan will be for the summer, because we have got players coming to the end of contracts. We've got players that we need to move on. We've got a lot of squad management to do at that point. And I think I'd rather have our ducks in a row for the summer to manage everything that's going to be going on, because there's going to be a lot of moving parts going on in the summer with the players out of contract and with potential sales and purchases.
Steve?
The cynic in me would say that Mitchell will turn around and go, I tried, but Eddie didn't want him. But I'm not cynical, okay? So scrap that straight away. What I think is a lot will depend on injuries. I think how fit Botman is. When do we get him back? Kraft, we've got Kraft out now for 2.5 months. If those players have any setbacks, then I think that could have a bearing on where we go, especially if we get another injury in among our central defenders. If anything, God forbid, happened to Shaw or Byrne, for example, or Kelly, we're very, very short in that area, and that might push us into an area where we perhaps didn't want to go. What Eddie's done is he's probably given Mitchell a bit of breathing space, because he seems to have, over the last 2 or 3 games, seems to have fixed that right midfield sort of striking position, the right side up front. The way that he's got formation work and the way he's adapted and brought Joe Willock into the team and moved Joe Linton over. Joe Linton playing down the right seems to have helped Livramento in the last couple of games, giving him an awful lot more support in the same way as he was giving support to Hall on the left. And we've seen the versatility of Anthony Gordon, who in weeks gone by, we've seen him play down the middle, we've seen him play on the left, and we've seen him play on the right. And I think just Eddie getting the blend right, as I say, has probably given us food for thought in a bit of leeway and a little bit of breathing space. But I think a lot will depend on whether we suddenly get a key injury. I think if we've got a key injury to, say, a Bruno or a Tonali, I think that would be, or a Joe Linton. I think then we would, if one of those players, God forbid, was out for the season, I think then we would probably have to jump. But let's just hope that everything goes fine. We get to the transfer window. The club assesses where they want to be. Because again, we the way that the league's concertinaed at the moment, we're not far off the top 4 spot. If we can get to January and we're sitting there and being competitive, sometimes that is the push that then drives you over the line. You bring some fresh blood in to get you to that next point. So I think there's an awful lot of plates being spun in the club at the moment. Certainly in my head there are anyway.
Roger, good evening. He says, Steve, Tyson or Paul, I just hope Tyson knocks his block off, mate. I just think it's a farce. It's like wrestling. It really is. I'll not be watching it. I'm sure I'll get sent it or it'll be on YouTube within a couple of hours. But, from my perspective, I just think it's just a waste of time and it's a waste of money. And, it's not something I'll be watching. I hope Tyson puts it all to rest and calls it a day after that. John Askew says, good afternoon, everyone. He was obviously in early. He says, are the Amigos confident of a good transfer window? Which is what we've already talked about. He says, it won't reflect well on Paul Mitchell if we fail to upgrade again, in my opinion. Do you agree? Well, I think we've covered that. Any stadium news? Asks Gareth. We haven't really had any stadium news. I've got to be perfectly honest. We have avoided speculation, and we've been told January. So I don't really want to go down that route. There was an interesting thing that was put on Twitter though by somebody, which I saw. And hold on, I have got it here. I did keep it there. It was from my Metro. Mark Douglas gets the credit for this. Newcastle will open talks on the feasibility study at St James's Park redevelopment, which could add 10,000 seats to a mega Gallagher end. A project reference is the proposal to build a large structure over 4 tube lines at Waterloo Station in London. So it's a very similar kind of thing. It's talking about extending rather than building a new stadium, George. I've got to be honest. I think that's a better idea short term, George. And I think 10,000 is probably enough, you know. Some people might disagree with me, but I'd love to see them just get over what I think it was 63,000 when Chelsea came to town and played Newcastle, and Hughie Gallagher came back to Newcastle for the first time. I think our record attendance is over 63,000. I'd love to be able to beat that, but I think short term, I think that's the right idea, George.
If you read the history, though, 63,000 is the official number. There are some historians who write that it was nearer 80,000, but never mind. That's the way it goes. Yeah, I'd seen that and was interesting, but it's not a solution for me. That's the problem. It's just another temporary fix. I think that's what would worry me.
And Mitch, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it's an interesting idea to build on the Gallagher, and that's something which we've talked about in the past.
Back over old ground, and it'll come back to. It is different with these owners, in that they do have money to burn. Previous owners looked at a feasibility study of putting 8,000 on the Gallagher end and said, "Well, that's going to cost X amount. The return on investment is going to be that. No, it's not worth it. It's not worth doing." If it gets through a period while plans can be put into place to then go to a bigger purpose-built stadium down the line as part of, say, a 10-year plan, these owners probably would consider it, because they do have money that they can put in and not necessarily burn, but it hurts them less than other owners. And so it's an opportunity that I guess that has to be explored. It's a very complicated solution, though, if it's not a permanent solution. I also don't think somebody like Aramco will want their name on a cobbled together, sort of not purpose-built old ground. They will want their name on something shiny and new.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to take all of these things into consideration. Look, if sticking 10,000 onto the capacity as it is, I think you're right, Steve. We don't really genuinely need much more than that, in my opinion. I think we've got to learn the lessons from the Italian clubs that are downsizing over the last 5 or 6 years, because sometimes you end up with grounds that look half empty, even though they're not half empty, because you stick 40,000 in an 80,000 stadium that is half empty, but still 40,000 people. For say, a cup game, it certainly, whilst demand for tickets is high and they want to improve income in every way possible, another 10,000 in the short term would work. But how short term, and where do you go from there? I'm just not convinced, personally.
Steve, extension seems to be coming about now, the talk about extending, but again, we're going to have to wait until early next year before we get some kind of answer.
Yeah, my understanding is that the Metro is already capped to allow an extension if they wanted to be. So any talk and any chat or somebody implying that the feasibility studies is now, let's have a conversation with the Metro, I think that's just a bit of a red herring, because the conversation about the Metro would be basically how can we incorporate into any new stadium, rather than is it feasible. It's more the desire than anything else. So it's the tunnel itself is already capped, and it was already part of the plan under Sir John Hall. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago with the whole Mike Ashley situation. Mike and his team looked at it and said, as Mitch has rightly pointed out, it'll cost it. In terms of the feasibility financially, it'll cost X amount, and we'll not get that money back for God knows how long. I think the difference with Mike Ashley idea and the Mike Ashley plan, if you like, and anything that the current owners would be that Mike was looking at purely as a financial bums on seats. How much, if I'm having to charge exactly the same as the rest of the Gallagher, it'll take us 50 years to recoup me money, because that's all he ever looked at. Because Mike never looked at the potential success that was also going to be brought. So in terms of the football ground, 60,000 plus, playing Champions League football consistently, that never ever came into Mike's equation. Always being there and potentially in the top four, the extra TV revenue that it brings, the extra kudos, etc., etc. Having said that, I think it would be a sticking plaster over a scab. I think that we've got to go for a new ground. What it should do, however, is what we should be hearing. We should be hearing an awful lot more from the Newcastle City Council about it. We should be hearing an awful lot more from the powers that be, and how supportive they would be for the club if there was going to be ground redevelopment. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound that I'm bringing a little bit of politics into it, which I normally don't, but I don't think it helps when you hear the leader of the City Council or being reported in newspapers that the leader of the City Council wants to talk to anti-Saudi groups who are protesting around the city, because I think that gives a wrong signal to the football club, wrong signal to the owners. The Newcastle City Council should be embracing the football club, and nothing that happens outside the sphere of football should really have anything to do with impact the football club in terms of how the football club wants to go forward. We shouldn't be in an area or a situation where potentially some sort of political decision could impact anything that Newcastle United are trying to do in terms of extending a football ground or building a new football ground, because they need to be looking at the whole thing in the round, what it means for the region, the city, football supporters, Newcastle, not just a certain demographic of people who want to stand with a banner and protest and think that they've got a loud voice. Then the council at the moment, in the situation that they're in, with a home council and with lots of independents desperately scrambling around looking for support, because that's what the
no money
and money, but more importantly, looking for support in terms of the council's own business going forward over the next 12, 18 months to 2 years, because the way that the councils found themselves now, and especially with it being a Labour dominated, they're now split, and I don't think it looks good, and I think there's political shenanigans going on, and they need to shake their heads, and they need to get out of that mindset, and they should be talking to the Newcastle United Football Club.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Been a great show, short show. Got Derek Wright's book launch to get to. So big thanks to Steve, to Mitch, to George. Thanks to all the moderators. Thanks to you for watching. Back tomorrow for 3's a Crowd, 9 o'clock in the morning. And then I've done a 45-minute interview with Will Scott, who's written the Entertainers book, which is selling rather well. That'll be on at 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Back with the professionals, though, live at 5 on Sunday with me, Stu, and Mitch. And Stu, yes, he's got yours. Those of you who are going tonight, see you in a bit. Take care. Good night.
All the best.
Good night, everybody. Thanks so much.